1 mile high. John Doe.
JDR News Live.
The human brain is made for thinking, not human experiment. It's hardly a thinker toy or experimenting. It's not human with drugs.
Why do we talk about marijuana? It's the single biggest drug that is a source of some confusion.
This is really about educating the public about the fact that marijuana is a less harmful drug.
Marijuana, that's to get high.
You can be as high as you want.
The prohibition of marijuana over the last 71 years has not actually prevented you from using marijuana.
You feel weak.
I'm sure to winning the war on drugs.
I do believe there have been some successes.
We will never arrest our way out of this problem.
Welcome to JDR News Live Daily, your source for daily cannabis news, entertainment, analysis, whatever it is you come for. Come here to laugh at me? That's fantastic. Thanks for joining us. Monday through Friday, started at 6 Mile High Time. It's your cannabis news. If you missed anything, make sure you holler at us at John Doe Radio, johndorad.io. Get everything we've recorded there. Have some good times. If you need to email me, you'd like us to cover something we haven't covered, something we missed, maybe a special story that you have that you would like more people to hear about, email me, johndoreradio@gmail.com. Oh, man. I think I ripped that bowl before the show a little bit too hard. The back of my throat just burning at this point in time. By the end of the show, gonna be talking like this. Absolutely no voice left. I better not do that too much to wreck my voice even more. Again, thanks for hanging out with us. Could not do it without our sponsors here on the John Doe Radio Show. It's brought to you by USA Cannabis Consulting, usacannabisconsulting.com. You need somebody to help you guide your way through cannabis licensing, or if you got a product that you would like to get out to people, or if you've got a business that you need to build something out of, construction-wise. That's what I'm talking about here. All-inclusive cannabis consulting company, Cannabis, usacannabisconsulting.com. Holler at them. They'll take care of you. Tell them the JDR sent you. You're looking to make money. Now, sometimes I've said, obviously, that the weed sells itself, bitch. You don't need to sell it, but you're trying to be better than the next person. The person behind you, the person in front of you. Maybe you'd like to get a brand new image out. Maybe you just want to have something built, a brand new room inside your dispensary, by the way, which has to be approved by the Marijuana Enforcement Division as far as I know. So yeah, I'm knowledgeable, and I don't even know if something like that still has to be licensed and okayed. The layout of your actual dispensary, okayed by the Marijuana Enforcement Division. These people can help you do it. They can help you take care of it. usacannabisconsulting.com. Make sure you holler at them. Also, big thanks to weedbiz.net. You're hearing us because of weedbiz.net, also because of YouTube. But if you're listening to us on the recording, weedbiz.net, help take care of that, help keep that online for you. johndorad.io. So holler at our good friends over there. Also, yourgraphics.com if you need a website built. yourgraphics.com. Let's do it.
You're now listening to Illit Beats.
News stories today. Out of Colorado, new rules for patient, doctors, and the relationships between them, which is obviously an extremely touchy subject for a lot of people. So, you know, there's like HIPAA guidelines, and your health should only be taken care of by your healthcare professional, whoever you choose that to be. So something coming in between that, obviously a lot of people are going to have an issue with it. I would. Warnings coming for marijuana and pregnancy. That's on the federal level. Florida's closer to medical marijuana. A little something from the southern state of Florida there. What's up, Molly? Puppy trying to crawl in between my legs. She's pissed off we didn't say hi to her at the beginning of the show. That's what it really is. How you doing? Aw. She's just trying to chill. I won't mind her. You can go to sleep on my feet. Love this dog. And also, New Jersey teen with epilepsy wins a fight to use cannabis at her school. And we'll see what else we get to. It's good times. The wind outside is absolutely ridiculous again, which, by the way, we were lied to yet again. So I'm sorry for y'all having this big old picture of a wintry wonderland, snow, marijuana falling from the sky type of situation here in Colorado, because it didn't necessarily happen that way, at least where I'm at. I think some other places got hit a little bit harder than we did here, up against the foothills. So, yeah, a little bit bummed about that. It kind of sucks. I was expecting to wake up with like 4 feet of snow. Although, at some point, I would probably have to do some nature work if that were the case. Snow shoveling, breaking back work. I also wanted to see Molly hop around like a deer or a bunny rabbit out in the snow. Because, you know, dogs are like that. And this is her first year with snow. Because she's barely 1 year old. So it's fantastic to watch the animals outside during that first snowstorm. Why are you biting me? Jeez. She's freaking out right now. Anyway, it's just freaking cold outside. But you don't care about that. Let's get to these news. Colorado, changes might be coming for the Colorado cannabis physicians and the patients they serve, but at least those doctors and their clients will have had a say. On November 19th, the Colorado Medical Board will consider and likely approve the final draft of guidelines for medical marijuana physicians that would not only bring medical marijuana recommendations more in line with other medical practices, but could also decrease the pool of 100,000 plus medical marijuana patients in Colorado. The guidelines, written by the Colorado Medical Board's Medical Marijuana Work Group, called for physicians to further evaluate and follow up with potential patients when recommending medical marijuana. The initial draft of the new guidelines strongly recommended incorporating mental health background checks and background checks of family and other medical records, as well as imaging studying and the laboratory testing for all patients. Which is just absolutely insane. As I mentioned, frustrating as hell when somebody else gets in between you and your doctor in a relationship that you do have. Big reason because, you know, these people trying to make these rules aren't necessarily doctors. And what does it matter to have records of, I mean, it's just ridiculous. Overreaction of cannabis and the treatment that cannabis can actually do for a lot of these people. So what if you're, you know, a terminal cancer patient? I mean, is that something where your medical history or your family's medical history, you know, should have a bearing on whether you could use medical cannabis to be able to relieve your ailments? Because I don't think so. Doesn't matter if you had some sort of, and this is even, part of this is even assuming that any person's medical history is affected by cannabis. You know, as I've said before, emergency room doctors say cannabis is one of the most benign substances that you can ingest into your body, basically having no effect, no reaction to any other drug or any other situation out there. Besides maybe if you know, get way too high. I've heard that black pepper can bring you down. It's just what I've heard. It's not something that I necessarily look for when I get too high. Usually when I get too high, I just kind of sit back and relax and go, damn, I'm a little high right now. But if you needed it, I've heard that if you'd like to come down from your high, or in these doctor's cases or emergency room visits, they may just give you Xanax. Bottom line is, there's probably not another medical condition that you can have throughout your history or your previous family's history that if you take cannabis, it's going to severely affect that. It's just ridiculous. The Denver-based medical marijuana physician, Dr. Peter Pryor, was a vocal opponent of the first draft, which he says had an angry tone regarding marijuana. Because it took a doctor to tell these people this. And like I said, not necessarily all these people are doctors. You do have some doctors on this board and some doctors in this situation pushing forward for these new drafts for medical marijuana, but a good majority of these people are just asshats. Just asshat custies to the drug war. Caterers, concierge is the exact opposite of what Michael Hawley is. The concierge to the cannabis community. These people are asshat anti-concierges. Concierge to the anti-drug war. I don't know what I'm talking about. Just ramble sometimes. We should remember, he says, as doctor fighting for less ridiculous changes, we should remember medical marijuana has existed for 15 years in Colorado, helping hundreds and thousands of patients. Only since the legalization of recreational marijuana and the millions of dollars of tax revenue it has created has medical marijuana come under such scrutiny, he wrote in an open letter. Pryor wasn't alone in his criticism after receiving more than 400 comments from medical marijuana physicians, patients, and industry stakeholders. The Medical Marijuana Board redrafted the guidelines and recommended such tests only in pertinent situations. Once again, the Colorado grassroots movement coming through, which 400 comments is kind of disappointing. I would expect that more for a small town trying to revamp their marijuana rules or medical marijuana situation. In a big-ass city, in a state like Colorado City, I meant Denver, but then I thought, yeah, this is not just Denver that this affects. It's the whole damn state of Colorado, so why would it be just 400 people or 400 comments coming across? I think it was July of 2009 when everything kind of changed here in Colorado, solidified the idea that you could stack patients, which then would allow dispensaries and shops to open. At that meeting was the biggest turnout of any cannabis meeting I've ever seen in the history of anywhere I've ever been or ever heard of. There's like 9,000 people showing up to this event. 9,000 people trying to make comments, trying to tell the board, the health department, that you're full of shiz. And you could go fark a couch, kindly. So it's dropped quite a bit since then. I've not even seen at all close to that turnout anytime since then. And I think a lot of people who have been activists for a long time here in Colorado would be the first to admit that this was the point of falling off, and this was the beginning of a situation that led to less grassroots activity here in Colorado. But still, we do have that massive push, and anytime something really does hit the fan, the shizzle, it's the goddamn swinging blades in the sky, then we do have a great call to action to get shiz done. And to make sure that what the will of the people, especially in Denver, those major cities, Denver, Colorado Springs, Fort Collins, the metro areas, do have their input and do put their words forward for the will of the majority of those people in those areas. Kind of sucks if you're a Republican, super red state type person and you live out on the Western Plains or the Western Plains. No, there's really no Western Plains. Eastern Plains or the Western Mountains. Man, I always sucked at directions. Anybody that ever asked me which direction we were going, I was like, I'm no goddamn Boy Scout. What do I look like to you? It's true. Two other parts of the draft that drew major disapproval from physicians and patients were the singling. I thought it was singeing. I need to make these words bigger. Oh, look at that. I just did. Singling out of chronic pain in the development and maintain competence section and suggesting pregnancy tests for any woman of childbearing age in evaluation recommendations. As it relates to treatment for debilitating pain, the physician should specifically develop competence in the area of assessing and treating pain to improve function. That's what I'm trying to say. Competence is something I know a little about. Incompetence, that is. Necessitates understanding current evidence-based practices and using other resources and tools related to evaluating patients and recommending marijuana as a therapeutic option. Read the draft. Chronic pain was the only condition mentioned in that section and has since been removed. So basically, you having to be a pain specialist and putting your ass on the line in order to recommend cannabis for pain. So that section kind of said. The newest version also scaled back on the pregnancy testing suggestion, which was absolutely amazing that they would even go this steps. I understand that, okay, here's the deal, that you were going to have to take a pregnancy test before all women of childbearing age. And didn't list a minimum number. It just age. It just said all women of childbearing age would have to take a pregnancy test. So if your kid was coming here to Colorado to be given epilepsy treatment with cannabis oil, and that kid was a female and she's like 10, 11 years old, I don't know, maybe that's even still too young. It just hit me right at that second that I have absolutely no clue about the female start of things when they start happening. Like that kind of stuff that I'm beating around the bush with. Whoa. But seriously, all women of childbearing age would have had to take a pregnancy test, which is just kind of invasive, I would think, right off the bat. I would think that women would probably not exactly appreciate that type of mandate. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not a woman. I don't have to go through the things that women have to go through. Maybe that's, sometimes a normal thing when you go to a doctor. I'm not claiming no shiatsu, but the women I heard from thought it was kind of a ridiculous idea to be putting in this situation specifically. You know what I'm saying? All right, back to this. Pregnancy suggestion, instead asking physicians to take into consideration the possibility of pregnancy and breastfeeding when evaluating patients. Since the new draft has been posted for the public, prior stance has significantly softened. And next story, we're going to read about a warning from the feds about pregnancy and marijuana use. I'm trying to find the blanket under me for people that are watching online and they're like, what the hell is he doing? Looks like he's trying to adjust his crotch area or something. No. There's a blanket underneath the desk, the broadcasting desk. It's to keep the feet warm, to keep the footsies warm. Never in my life, except for maybe when I was like maybe 4 years old or something like that, for a short period of time, I think I owned some, like slippers, the shiz in the winter that most normal people wear to keep their feet warm inside. Nah, it's not something I've ever owned. It's just an idea that popped in my head yesterday. I was like, maybe I should get myself some feet warmers. What are the slippers? Or dang old slippers, get them. Maybe I'll keep my feet, because I have this issue with my hands and my feet being the coldest part of my body. It's just, I don't know what it is. I figured it was my hands at one point in time because I've drummed for so long, and maybe there's some sort of adaptation my circulatory system had come upon to where there's less blood flow because they're like, God damn, we can't handle this roller. I have no clue how. I don't know. I'm just making up shit here. I'm just telling you that my feet and my hands get cold sometimes. So there's a blanket, which Molly did not decide to sleep on. For a minute there, she was trying to decide if she was going to sleep on it, which I would have appreciated, the blanket on top of my feet with a Molly on top of that, because then it would have been like a warm, easy bake oven for the feet. And who doesn't like that? Warm feet. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about again. Let's get back to this news story. Like I said, at least I cracked myself up. This quote says, I thought the changes were fair. The input we gave them, they listened to it and made necessarily changes. Oh, the Dr. Pryor that we're talking about that fought a lot of these ridiculous new rules that were going to be put in place. The tone was better this time. I think they did their due diligence. Jason Worf, executive, not Jason, as opposed to Jason Wharf, as some of you may know, that dude here in Denver. Jason Worf, W-E-R-F, executive director at the Southern Colorado Cannabis Council, participated in stakeholder meetings leading. Maybe it is Jason Wharf, and they just spelled his freaking name wrong. I don't know if he's part of the Southern Colorado Cannabis Council. I just realized that. I may be wrong. He also thought the initial draft's recommendation came off as a broad and unenlightened piece of crap. No, he didn't actually say that. And didn't want marijuana recommended after an evaluation similar to that of narcotic painkillers. We definitely had concerns with the first draft, he says. Just because guidelines for one medication is considered appropriate doesn't mean it works for another substance. And I'll agree with that one. That's not what the word says, damn it, John Doe. Although still concerned with the state's lack of marijuana experience in administrative health positions, Worf sees the guidelines as a positive step to overall providing protective outline for proficient medical marijuana physicians. Anything that works to further clarify what's happening right now in medical practices is a good thing for protection and a step forward in education for the medical board on what these physicians do, he says. It's a bridge we have to build. New guidelines were written after Senate Caregiver Act was signed into law on May 18th. Among other things, the bill required Colorado Medical Board to craft a policy for medical marijuana recommendations. The measure called for creating marijuana recommendations that would be more in line with recommendations for more traditional medications to limit bogus recommendations and extended plant counts, with the state had assumed would decrease with recreational legalization. But as we talked about yesterday, that's not so much the case. There's been an increase in medical marijuana patients since legalization came through. A lot of people attributing that because of the high taxes. And as we talked about yesterday, the Denver Post contributing it to people just abusing the system, being able to abuse the system specifically. Going from a recreational person maybe that went into or doesn't want to pay the 30% taxes that are in place, or going through the recreational process and saying, fuck this couch, I'm going back to being a medical marijuana patient. Either way, still an increase in medical marijuana patients here in Colorado, which I would say is a good thing. Anytime we've had an increase in patient numbers, or anybody's had an increase in patient numbers, or has introduced medical marijuana to the system, especially here in Colorado, we were like top 3 in the nation for a long time when it comes to painkiller abuse. And you would say like, Florida with all the old people, that would be a certain painkiller abuse type situation. No, Colorado, one of the top abusers for painkillers. And since we've had medical marijuana, and since legalization has been a huge topic, and cannabis use per capita has risen more and more, painkiller abuse has gone down. And whether you can attribute one to the other is, I don't know, that's up to the scientists and the spinsters. People that just make shiz up when they see it. Like, oh, let's see, this graph says 70% of people are helped with medical marijuana, and this graph over here says that there's 40% of people that, fall off a roof. Well, you know what? I bet some of these people use marijuana, so you know what? Roof falls are attributed to medical marijuana. That's just how I see it, and that's how I'm going to call it when I go and I start talking to these people, and these people are going to believe me. God damn it. It's just going to happen. That's what's going to work out. That's a brand new voice there on the JDR. I don't know. I just shot that one from the hip. I thought it was quite funny. I about cracked up a couple times. That's why I kept going with it. Yeah, on one today, aren't we? I don't even know what I was talking about. Anyway, as of July, there are 113,862 registered patients in the Colorado Medical Marijuana Registry, up from 111,030, I should say. Registered patients in January 2014 when recreational sales began. 100,000. And numbers show throughout the United States well over 1 million people being affected and helped by medical marijuana laws throughout the United States. Actual people that are signed up as patients. A good majority of those obviously out in California. You know what I'm saying? That's really the spot where, if these numbers, if you want to test the idea that legalization will bring down medical marijuana numbers, really the spot to test that, number one, you got to have a fair tax on it. And even if it's not necessarily a fair tax, I would think that bringing legalization to California would drastically lower their medical marijuana patient numbers. But like I said, it just all depends on how they implement the ability for people to get recreational cannabis and the cost of recreational cannabis. Because dang, you know that medical marijuana hasn't done a damn thing to lower prices in California. Jesus. You still got like $60, $70, $80 grams on the regular for good shatter, for nug run shatter, and then you got these terps that can be added to your shiz. Just terps, terptastic, fantastic Q-tipping situation going on, where it's like $120 for a gram of this stuff. This is crazy. It's just crazy, man. And I'm a firm believer that the market will support whatever is out there and people will pay for it. That's fine. Even when people, like, say there's the glass market on Facebook page. Okay, here's a good example. People come in there and they post the most jankiest shiz, the most crappy glass or whatever, and be like, this is $300, this is $400, I want $2,000 for this. And people come in and just start bitching about it and telling them that it's not worth that. That's fine. Okay, I understand that it may not be worth that. Fantastic if it's not. Just leave it out there. Put it out there. If somebody wants to bite, then that's up to them. Captain Save a Glass Hoe comes in and starts bitching about like, oh, this is not, that. Which is fine. I understand you're trying to protect somebody and or call somebody a jackass. Bottom line being, though, if the market's going to pay for it, then who are you to not capitalize off of that? I mean, it is capitalization. I don't know. And then part of me is just like, that's insane. Like, how can you charge that amount? It's just crazy. There's got to be... But then that part of me that says that that's insane thinks of there's got to be a situation to where the market can correct this. So artificially built up prices when it comes to cannabis is obviously not out of the question and definitely something that should be considered when it comes to prices with cannabis. Here in Colorado, price is the way that it is, the tax is the way that it is because of how much of a bastardized situation we've been having to deal with in the drug war for years and years and years. We still see lower prices than a lot of people in the nation. But when it comes down to it, because it's still illegal across the United States, because we still see a situation where it's attracting that cash and people will pay for it for that amount, we still have to pay those amounts. You know, say Kansas, Wyoming, Nebraska, New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, everywhere around us were to legalize. California were to legalize. You would start seeing the price of cannabis drop drastically. For the regular bullshit stuff, for the custody stuff, you may have a situation to where, which you will still have a situation, not may have, you still will have a situation to where there's these, just like in brewing, where it's these small brewers, these craft breweries, where they develop these fantastic beers and all this crazy shiz, or in Boston, where they put lobster and clam chowder in their damn beer and sell it for like $500 a bottle. I have no clue if that's the price. I just made that up. I know there probably is a clam chowder crab beer out there, though. That makes perfect sense for all them damn people in Boston. But either way, those beers and that type of situation, high-end alcohol, super pricey, through the roof. Should it be priced that way? Maybe not. Maybe it's not worth that much. Maybe the name on it gives it everything. But you're still going to have that situation when it comes down with cannabis. But on the other end, you're going to have your McCormick's vodka or whatever's cheap vodka. I don't know. I wouldn't know. Just kidding. It is like the cheapest vodka I think there is. But you're still going to have that. You know, your dollar shots, stuff like that. It's going to be out there. It's going to exist. The good thing is, though, it's not going to be artificially pumped full of all this crap, all these things, all these situations that push the price through the roof. Like having an illegal and a prisonable offense in some areas. Which kind of makes it worth a little bit more than it should be. Bitch, I put my ass on the line, I'm going to charge you what I want. Says every drug dealer in the world. Holy crap, Ola, we're only half an hour through this podcast. This may be a shorter JDR. Only got a couple stories left. And really, I think you can only deal with so much when it comes for me today. Seriously. Oh, we got to get rid of this stupid cop one again. I just copied yesterday's music beds, and dragged them over. So if you're wondering if there's something familiar about this podcast, yes, it's the music beds. Warning, marijuana use in pregnancy and breastfeeding poses potential harms. That message would be written on medical and recreational marijuana products and posted wherever they're sold if the nation's most influential doctors group has its way. American Medical Association agreed Monday to push for regulations requiring such warnings to be written on medical and recreational pot products and posted wherever they're sold. Decision was made based on studies suggesting marijuana use may be linked with low birth weight, premature birth, and behavior problems in young children. They've also linked the red dye in M&Ms, Skittles, and other shit to the same thing, and cancer. Some studies, critics say evidence of harm is weak, which some would even say that there's studies that, like the Jamaican mom studies that they had. And I'm sure over the thousands and thousands of years that we've used cannabis, that they can't specifically tie anything with strong evidence to not using cannabis while you're pregnant. Which, here's the thing. I mean, this is such a touchy subject with a lot of people. You definitely should not be smoking if you'd like to stay in the best health. Period. End of story. Even vaporizing kind of leads to a situation where you could argue, okay, that's not the best thing to do to your body. Ingesting cannabis, is it the same as some other medications that are out there? That's the question that has to be asked. It's the harm, and have a serious conversation about it, not something where, all drugs are bad, okay? We can't be having this. This is not a good thing, okay? I'm talking about a real conversation with toxicity levels and harm versus other medications out there that maybe you could replace cannabis with, or that cannabis could replace the medication. You know what I'm saying? So that's the important thing, is to ask that question. There's also similar warnings. Let me see here. Where was I at, actually? Some studies have linked marijuana use in pregnancy with childhood attention problems and lower scores on problem-solving measures. THC, the main active ingredient in marijuana, has been found in the milk of women who use it while breastfeeding, and some data suggests the drug can affect the quality and quantity of breast milk. The body naturally produces the highest concentrated THC cannabinoid, because we do have endocannabinoid systems, so at some point our body's probably making this shiz that the endocannabinoid system enjoys taking in, or we're so fantastically in love with the cannabis and what it does. Anyway, the bottom line is that your body has this system, and the most concentrated cannabinoids anywhere in the body are found in women's breast milk. I mean, I don't think I'm wrong. I've read that from science. I've read that from articles. So it seems like a lot of this is still shots in the dark of being scared, of getting ahead of the game and being safe better than being sorry. Much more scientific evidence of harm from alcohol and tobacco than from marijuana, but marijuana has not been proven safe to use during pregnancy or breastfeeding. The AMA voted to adopt the proposal, meaning it's now on AMA's lobbying agenda. In advice issued earlier this year against marijuana use during pregnancy, the OBGYN group cited data putting use during pregnancy at about 5% nationwide, but as high as 28% among some urban low-income women. Ramos said getting the AMA on board really gives power to the proposal. She said the ultimate goal is a federal requirement for warning signs, but because marijuana use is illegal under federal law, the policy seeks local and state measures. While some women use the drug during or after pregnancy to ease nausea, chronic pain, or depression, there are alternatives without the potential risks, says Dr. Judy Chang, an associate OBGYN professor at the University of Pittsburgh who studies substance abuse in pregnancy. Medical marijuana is legal in 23 states, Washington, D.C., blah, 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 blah. Same thing we read in every news story. Several states require health warnings on cannabis product labels, but in Oregon, it's the only state that currently requires a point-of-sale warning at dispensaries regarding cannabis use in pregnant or breastfeeding women. I'm pretty sure we have warning labels here in Colorado that pretty much say the same thing. But there's nothing sitting there, like when you buy it, like a sign or anything that tells you, yeah, this is this. In Colorado, regulators have struggled to spell out guidelines about maternal pot use. Labels warn pregnant and nursing women that there may be risks from using marijuana, but there's no ban on pregnant women buying it. What the hell? It's a fantastic idea. I'm sure people are going to be fascinated with that idea. Freaked out. Colorado lawmakers this year rejected a ban on selling marijuana to pregnant women and another measure to post a warning sign in pawn shops. Dr. Larry Wolk, Colorado's chief medical officer, said health officials there have created informational material and pamphlets about the risks for doctors to give to pregnant women. If the effort raises widespread awareness, we may not need legislation, Wolk said. In Illinois, regulated sales of medical marijuana began last week. Scott Miller, the owner of a dispensary in Canton, Illinois, said he was unaware of potential risks linked to use during pregnancy, but he would not be opposed to warning signs, aka signs as in an actual sign and not a sign. Ow, damn. Molly just bit me right there. What are you doing, man? You want to get in on this chat? What's up? Jeez, she's being crazy today. She probably just wants out of the room. Wants to go hang out with everybody outside the room. You're my good luck charm, though. You can't be leaving. Illinois, medical marijuana, blah, 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 blah. His dispensary already posts a health-related state-mandated sign noting that edible marijuana products may be made in kitchens not subject to public health inspections. It may also process common food, possess common food allergens. Customers also get pamphlets that mention risks of side effects for an addiction. If use during pregnancy is a real risk, Miller said, as a dispensary owner, I would want to expose that. It's obviously a controversial topic that people are talking about and is an issue with not only here in Colorado with our board, but an issue federally, nationwide. Obviously, people are going to want to protect pregnant women, pregnant people. There is probably someone out there that's a dude. Never mind. I don't even want to dig down that rabbit hole. Get the rights of some tranny and never mind. Neither here nor there. So we'll be following that more. That's going to be a big situation across the board when it comes down to these warnings. That's going to be something the states are going to always obviously look at, not only just with listing pesticides and everything that's used in the making of the cannabis, which is a rule here in Colorado that you have to do. If it's put into the soil, if it's used in any process, you're supposed to have that listed out on the warning labels. But I think that adding those other warning things, those warning labels, going to be longer and longer and longer as we go, as more and more situations become brought up federally, more mandates come out, more regulation comes out, and fine if you want to warn people about it. I mean, we better safe than sorry. I can understand that side of things. But as more science comes out and as more testing with cannabis that we recognize here in the United States, not that this hasn't been done, that testing hasn't been something that we have years and years and years and years and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not 1,000 or more studies done that are recognized when it comes to cannabis. Having those change rules a little bit more farther down the road than having people just freak out, scared soccer moms and scared NASCAR dads. Now she's biting my feet. What are you doing, Molly? Crazy dog. All right, last story that I got for this afternoon. Jeez. I have to go outside and play with her in the snow. It was funny yesterday. She doesn't really seem like she hates the snow all that much, but with the wind, when the wind comes through, the wind starts blasting, making a bunch of noise. She's not a big fan of that. She's still a little scaredy pup. Rescued, dumb friends league, scaredy pup. All right, this last story is from Florida. Quick one. Florida Supreme Court has canceled oral arguments in the wake of Attorney General Bondi's lack of objection. While they still must issue an opinion about the petition that they felt they did not need to hear, from our attorneys is a very, very good sign. It also saved thousands and thousands of dollars in attorney's fees. This is basically a press release news report from organization in Florida that's hoping to get medical marijuana on the ballot. Should they formally approve the amendment language, That would mean the only thing standing in the way of medical marijuana's return to the ballot is collecting enough validated signatures. And if you're in Florida, or if you'd like to help Florida, that's where you can come into play. They literally are halfway to their petition goal and have less than 60 days to pull in the remainder of the funds they need to get for the 400,000 more petitions they need. Signatures, I would assume. See here. If you'd like to help out, head to theweedblog.com. There's a story on there. Florida Supreme Court cancels medical marijuana ballot arguments, and some links there that you can help push the situation in Florida. They need to collect another 30. Let's see here. This was a very hastily written press release, it looks like. It needs to collect another $37,000 in November to get to their $100,000 total in matchable donations. So if you'd like, head over to theweedblog.com and contribute to Florida getting her done. Florida would have medical marijuana if it weren't for the fact that they have to give a 60% approval rate in that damn state. That's just crazy. I would hate to live in a state where you have to have that type of majority in order to get something put through, specifically probably on your constitutional amendment when it comes down to it. 60 freaking percent. Really, the only people that have come that close is Washington, D.C. That's a huge percentage to overcome. That's overwhelming majority. Which frustrates me as a libertarian. It's supposed to be the majority of people. Anyway, neither here nor there. Have yourself a fantastic evening. That's going to do it for JDR News Live today. We'll have more news for you tomorrow. It was actually kind of a slow news day for cannabis when it comes down to it. Usually Tuesdays and Wednesdays, some of the bigger cannabis news days, and then political type cannabis stuff gets dropped on like Saturday night. So hopefully, possibly it gets buried over the rest of the weekend, and it's not hot news right off the bat. It's buried under a lot of news that comes out and put out Monday morning. So anyway, usually big news day, Tuesdays, Wednesdays. Not so much today. So have yourself a fantastic evening or whatever time it is that you're listening to us here at the JDR. If you missed anything that we've done, as I've mentioned, head to johndorad.io. We can take care of you there with all of your JDR listening needs. If you got a suggestion, you have something to say, just holler at me. Like, for instance, now I'll check the chat room, see if these dudes have anything that they want to say. Hey, Chris Cater's even in the chat today. That's fantastic. What up, Cater? My good buddy here in Colorado. Dude, Samson dropped in today. That's fantastic. Yeah, Cater, I should have come and done a show from your studio and sat in with the band tonight. I would have enjoyed that. That would have been fun. Chris Cater does a podcast, has a bunch of bands on his show. It's a fantastic podcast. If we ever have bands or we ever have music attached to the show with live setting, then I got to have that dude come in and produce for us. He's already the unhired or hired without pay engineer for us. Samson and Mike Smith possibly were there. Hey, thank you guys for listening. Sam Mallory saying he doesn't trust pregnant women. We were talking about the pregnant women story. Oh, Bike was in the chat. Fantastic. Good to see you, Bike. All right, there's nothing else. What are the limits of what you can say on YouTube streams? Whatever you want. That's the limits of what you can say on YouTube streams. That's another person that we'll have to get here to hang out with us on JDR is Samson. Because Samson's just a badass. And he's funny as hell. You have him pre-record like a video or some words of Samson wisdom that only he would be able to spit out. Sounds like a fantastic idea to me. Big thanks to the sponsors on the JDR. Holler at them if you need. USA Cannabis Consulting.com. USA Cannabis.consulting. One of their websites, USACannabisConsulting.com. They'll take care of you if you need navigate the cannabis regulatory system. Also, our good friends over at WeedBiz.net for bringing you our recorded JDR shows and the server that everything goes on to. WeedBiz.net. Got those cannapods for sale for you. If you need something to grow into, you need a professional type setup, but don't have a setup where you're set up, holler at them, weedbiz.net. Also, big thanks to our friends at yourgraphics.com. What you really should do with Your Graphics, though, is go on Facebook and holler at them there. Say, John Doe Radio sent you. Talk to our good friend Jessica Trim over there with Your Graphics. All you got to do is just type in URGRAFIX into the Facebook search thing, or go to our John Doe Radio Facebook page. Search for them there. They'll take care of you. Need a website built. You need some images done. They'll take care of you. Anyway, I'm going to go mess around with the dog. Feed her. She's probably hungry. God damn it. Throwing her sock around here left and right. This dog is awesome. She can catch treats in midair, throw them at her. She does the little sit thing, you throw them up in the air. Perfect catch every time. Makes me so proud. Then she gets a sock or something else and just starts throwing it around. Like literally, she's like a baseball player. She can throw the sock, catch the treat. Until tomorrow, I'm Tim Martin, your Stony Daily News friend. It's JDR. See ya.
Produced by Charlie Stash Entertainment. The John Doe Radio Show programming is not limited to, but includes information and humor on counterculture subjects and is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only. We specifically include responsible marijuana reform. Besides, listening to anyone but your mothers is like stupid. We accept no responsibility for your actions or misrepresentations, and we do not fully endorse the use of illegal drugs. You are ultimately responsible for yourself.
Live.